I will be giving you information on a need-to-know basis. Today, I am training you along with a couple of other rookies who say they want to learn this business. It takes a lot of guts and attention to small detail. Let's see if you have what it takes. I'll be teaching you about trace evidence today and what it means to rookies like you. So pay attention. Don't contaminate the evidence. And by all means, my time is valuable, so don't waste it. I will be testing you to see if you learned anything. Those of you who have learned will earn a rookie badge. Those of you who have not will stay behind with me until you get it. I really don't like people, so trust me, you don't want to stay. I've talked enough. Let's go. Today you'll learn about the principles of exchange and what it means to the world of forensic science. You will learn myths regarding CSI, trace evidence, as well as how to find and discover your own trace evidence. The objective of this is that you will be able to define principles of exchange, break TV myths, learn how trace evidence is really discovered, and then I will take you on a journey to discover trace evidence on your own. First, let's talk about the principle of exchange. Whenever two individuals come into contact with one another, a physical transfer occurs. Hair, skin cells, wear fiber, pollen, glass fragments, non-living particles, or organic material from a person's wear. Don't touch me. Makeup or any range of various forms of material can be transferred from one person to another. Stop right here. It's time for detailed research activity. I need you to go to Google and find out what Lockhart's principle means. You will need to find the site that will help you answer the questions on your handout. At this point, a mentor will arrive. She'll give you a piece of paper. You'll write down the answers, and then you'll come back to me, and we'll discuss and see if they match mine. Lockhart's principles. Question 1. Edmund Lockhart was the director of the very first forensic laboratory in existence. The laboratory was located in Lyon, France. His exchange principle stated that with every contact leaves a trace. Trace evidence is any type of material left at or taken from a crime scene or the result of contact between two surfaces. Hey rookies, don't touch me. How fabulous they spin. Let's
CSI didn't just launch a franchise, it created a false impression when it comes to solving crimes. CNN senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin writes about it in a recent edition of the New Yorker magazine. Jeffrey was given incredible access inside the New York Police Department's forensic crime lab. He found out what CSI is all about and how much of the TV show is a myth.
The search for the microscopic case breaker, enhancing the prints, mountains of evidence combed for what really matters. A rare look inside a forensic crime lab. Familiar? Well, sort of.
The labs on CSI are always very dark with kind of a cool blue light.
Yeah.
It's not that way here, right?
No, it's actually the opposite. You want as much light as possible because you're looking for evidence that is hard to find.
But it's not as cool.
It is definitely not as cool.
Lisa Faber is the top criminalist in the New York City Police Department's hair and fiber unit. Over 10 years, her meticulous work has helped solve some of the city's worst crimes.
Do you have a favorite case involving hair evidence?
Yes, it was a kidnapping homicide where a 99-cent store owner was kidnapped in Queens and his body was found dumped in Bayonne, New Jersey. And detectives ultimately found the car of a suspect, and they asked me to look for the victim's hairs in this car. So after pouring through hundreds and hundreds of hairs, I found 3, and so there was a conviction and he was sentenced to life.
They also found a strand of hair. Our lab has matched it to you. But hair analysis isn't as conclusive as it is on CSI.
Do a cuticle and cortex are a visual match to the hairs I pulled from Paige Wyckoff's brush.
We would never use the word match because that implies that they are the same, and that is not the case. We say similar to, could have come from.
To a jury, the hair sample on the left may appear to have the same structure as the hair sample on the right. Indeed, a prosecutor could argue that these hairs are similar to each other. But even those words, similar to, have led to major controversy.
I am not sure that juries understand what they're being told when they're being told that something is consistent with this coming from the defendant. There's no statistical basis for the microscopic hair analysis. In other words, they have no idea of how many other people would have that same sample of hairs.
For Berger, hair evidence should be permissible in court only if it includes a DNA match, the gold standard of forensic evidence. The problem is visual comparisons from hair found at a crime scene and hair from a suspect have led to terrible miscarriages of justice.
Right now it's
Back in the crime lab, Faber may already be a step ahead of the controversy.
This is an example of a route that would be suitable for nuclear DNA because of the tissue that you can see around the root end.
At the NYPD, hair analysis rarely stands alone anymore. It's a screening test before the big one, DNA. The days when a jury hears, this hair looks like that hair, those may be over.
Yes, I mean, slowly, as they're hearing more and more DNA statistics, they're probably looking to hear those type of numbers. And as DNA is on TV more and more, it's something that they're looking for.
So in the dim light of CSI, hair analysis may be a sure thing. But in the bright light of a real crime lab, it may be a first step, but only a first step to the DNA lab.
Myths are just not true. Anderson Cooper removed the myths from what we believe CSI to be in real life by interviewing forensic specialists in this field. Let's see if we can remember some of the details that were given in the following categories. What you should know, rookies, is you should be able to answer the question, where did the interview take place? How much DNA do you really need? What does a real crime lab look like? On the next page, you will be asked several questions regarding Anderson Cooper's video. I hope you pay great attention to detail. Anderson Cooper 360, the CSI effect. Question 1. What crime lab did the reporter visit? A, Chicago, B, New York, or C, Las Vegas? You see the answer clear as day, rookies, so don't freak out. It's B, New York. How many hairs did the investigator use to help in getting a conviction in the kidnapping homicide case? A, 3, B, 30, C, 300. Clear as day, we heard her say 3. Alright, rookies, almost the last question, but not quite yet. Real crime labs tend to be darker to make it easier to see evidence, true or false. It's cool in CSI, but it's false in the real world. Last question. What must be present in a hair sample to test for DNA? A, shaft, B, cuticle, or C, the root? She had the root under the magnifying glass, and she said that could be used for DNA. We got the red light. Let's go. Now, in this video, we're going to learn how to identify trace evidence. Pay attention.
We're talking trace evidence today. The crime scene is comprised of two major elements. One, which we call the macro scene, which is everything visible, and the micro scene, which is everything invisible. Even fingerprints that are latent prints, I define as part of the macro scene because they're not microscopic. So anything that's microscopic, like hairs, fibers, little pieces of dust, anything like that, glass shards, are things which I consider part of the micro scene. So for every macro scene you have at the crime scene, there's an associated micro scene. It could be gunshot residue, it could be bacteria, it could also be micro scenes that you're dealing with microscopic elements. So what we need to learn today is how do you collect these trace evidence materials. And there are three methods that are typically used in a crime scene. One we call the hunt and peck method, which is just exactly that. You've got yourself a flashlight, you've got some tweezers, you've got an envelope to put it in, and you look for them and you find them and you put them in the envelope. Typically you don't get a lot of material doing that. The next method is the taping method, where you take a piece of adhesive tape, and they're specially made tapes for evidence, and you put the tape down and you lift it up, and then you protect it with some saran wrap or some other sort of material that can be removed from the tape without removing the evidence. And the third method is using a vacuum cleaner. Now you can use a regular vacuum cleaner in your house as long as you have a filter attached to it that will trap all the materials. And the amount of material you collect goes in the progression of hunt and peck, taping, vacuum cleaning. Vacuum cleaning is a last resort type of thing. It's used for most situations other than looking at things on clothing or for chairs and sofas. It would be used perhaps in a car where you're looking at the floorboards of the car or somewhere in that kind of an area.
How to discover and collect trace evidence. Elder Science just told us how to do that, rookies. I hope you paid attention. We're going to the next page to kind of break down what was told to us about how to identify trace evidence. Write these things down because you'll be up next at the next crime scene. Define macroscopic, large enough to perceive or examine by the unaided eye. Define microscopic, so small as to be visible only with a microscope. What are the three methods of collecting trace evidence? 1. The hunt and peck method. 2. Taping method. 3. The vacuum cleaner method. The hunt and peck method is using tools such as a white envelope and tweezers along with a flashlight. The taping method is using tape along with saran wrap to secure the tape. And the vacuum cleaner method is used with a vacuum cleaner. Where do you place your evidence after it has been found? Put evidence into a white envelope. Seal it with an evidence tape seal. Let's go. Now that you know how to identify evidence, it's time to gather some evidence of your own. It's time for your classroom crime. You will need to go to the classroom crime scene. Now that you have gotten rid of all the CSI myths, using Lockhart's principles of how to identify the evidence that is transferred, you will need to find the evidence at the crime scene by using the hunt and peck method, the taping method, and the vacuum cleaner method that will be provided to you by the mentor in which I assigned. Good luck and happy investigating. See you at the next crime job, rookies. Today, you should have learned about how things work in the CSI department. You are now able to define principles of exchange, break TV myths, tell how trace evidence is discovered. You have discovered trace evidence on your own, and you still have only scratched the surface. There is plenty more you need to know, but great news, you earned your rookie badge today. But before you start solving bigger crimes, like who stole the school's trophy, the great thing is you now are equipped with the tools necessary to do an effective investigation.